Are you ready for FUN? Because you're going to have a lot of it this semester. Okay, I want to go over Philosophy 20, Introduction to Ethics, and give you a sense of what the course is and where we're going to go and how we're going to do our work so that you have a really clear understanding of what you're in for before you get into it. All right? If you're the kind of person that likes to read more than listen to hatted guys with beards yammer at you, you can get all the information that I'm going to be giving in these short videos by clicking the syllabus link in the Canvas page, and that'll take you to a place where you can download your own electronic copy of the syllabus. Everything I'm going to go over in these short videos is contained in that document, so if you'd rather just read it at your own leisure, feel free to skip the videos and do that. I recommend you download yourself a copy of that syllabus to have on hand, because at some point you're probably going to have some quiz questions that are going to cause you to go back in and look at that thing. So make sure you do at some point go over here and get yourself a copy of the syllabus. All right, so I know that you're here because this course satisfies all kinds of GE and transfer requirements, but I'm also assuming that you're here because you have some interest in being a good person. And you have some interest on some level of figuring out what the right thing to do is and avoid the wrong thing, right? Otherwise, why would you sign up for a course that looks at exactly those kinds of questions, okay? And that is what ethics is. Ethics is just the study of morality. And when we talk about morality, we're talking about character, and we're talking about qualities of actions. You know, which action is the better thing to do, or which action is the right thing to do or the wrong thing to do? And anytime we start these kinds of conversations about what's right, what's wrong, who's a good person, who isn't a good person, we're always talking about values, okay? In other words, we're always talking about things that we've deemed worthy. So when somebody says, hey, I don't think you should do that, what they're really saying to you is, I think that if you do that, it's going to compromise or diminish something that I think matters, something that has value to me. So I want you to avoid doing that. Or when somebody says, I think this is really the right thing to do in this situation, what they're really saying to you is, I think this action that I'm suggesting to you, this is the action that protects or promotes something of value. And a good person is somebody who embodies those values and acts on those values that we think are worthy of accepting. So in all of our conversations about ethics, no matter what we're doing, sort of in the background is always this question of values. Have we arranged our values in the way that we really want to? And what do we do when we find ourselves in those awful situations where we've got multiple values kind of competing with one another, and doing one action that protects one value is going to damage or compromise another thing that we value, okay? Now, all of this matters because, of course, when you talk about character, you're talking about quality of being, right? And so if you're a good person, by some definition, then what we're sort of saying is, well, you're the kind of person that does good things by some criteria. And really that's a way of saying, this is what this person stands for. What they stand for is kind of what they stand on, or what they stand on is kind of what they stand for. In other words, you base your life on some set of principles or values. And in fact, there's probably some principles or values that you would say, if these things were not a part of my world anymore, my life wouldn't have as much meaning, or maybe my life wouldn't be worth living, okay? So again, it all comes back to this idea of value, and that's what we're going to look at in this course. We're going to look at how do we determine what is the right or the wrong thing to do? What are the kind of criteria we use? How have others addressed these kinds of questions? And so on and so forth. So the purpose of the course is not to necessarily make you into a better person. I don't know that studying ethics does that. There's controversy about that. But is to provide you an opportunity to think about these things so you can have a better life and be more of the kind of person that you want to be. All right. So how are we going to do this? Well, modules is where it's at. So when you come into the Canvas page, there's some other of these buttons you'll be hitting periodically. But this modules one is one you're going to want to make pretty good friends with, because this is going to take you to the course calendar of assignments. And I'll always have at the top of the modules page, as soon as you click it, we'll have the assignments for the week that are coming up. So it'll say like, hey, you need to read these pages out of this book, or you need to read this article or watch this video. And then you have to do this little exam part, and you have to do this little thought primer, okay? So the modules are going to kind of keep you on track. Now, there's three main areas where we're going to do our work this semester. And what I mean by that is that there's three areas that you're going to be graded on, okay? One of those areas is your thought primers. You have one almost every week of the semester. They're short, never more than a whole typed page, double-spaced. Usually you can get it done in a half page or so. And the purpose of the thought primer is just it's to get you thinking about some of the ideas that I'm going to want to talk with you with, and to get you to think about those ideas before we actually start having our conversation. And then the second part of the thought primer is you having a chance to explore some ideas after we've had some conversation with one another and after we've had a chance to do some more reading and thinking about those ideas. So again, they're short. You have about one a week. There's a couple of weeks of the semester where you don't have one. They're each worth 2 points. You get 1 point for giving me your answers to the questions before our discussion, and you get another point for posting your answers to some questions on our course discussion board after we've had some conversation with one another. I've made the due date for these Sundays at midnight. You can turn them in before that if you want to. If you need more time on any one of these thought primers, all you have to do is let me know. I'll work with you however we need to. I'll work with you to make sure that you get your assignments done, even when life kind of hits you in the face and prevents you from getting them done on time. The other thing you're going to be doing almost on a weekly basis are these little exam parts. They're nothing to be afraid of. You'll have about one a week. They are all multiple choice. You get 2 attempts and unlimited time at all of the exam parts. And so what that means is you go into Canvas, you open up your exam part. There's probably somewhere between 5 and 15 multiple choice questions there. You complete the exam part, you submit it, you go back in, you look to see which questions you got right, which ones you got wrong, and then you can open up that exact same exam again and take another stab at it. It'll be the same questions in the same order, okay? So you'll get 2 attempts in unlimited time at somewhere between 5 and 15 questions. It's nothing to sweat. The only way people ever screw up the exams is by forgetting to do them, okay? So I'm gonna try and keep you on track, make sure, like, have you done your exam parts? Don't forget to do those. I know a strategy that a lot of folks use is to have their exam part up on their computer as they're doing their reading, because the questions in the exam part come right out of the reading. So you could just go ahead and complete that quiz or that exam part as you're doing your reading, okay? And then the last thing that makes up your course grade are these 2 assignments called ethical inquiries. There are no essays in this course. Hooray, right? There's no essays in this course, but you do have these 2 ethical inquiries, and those will be these assignments that allow you to demonstrate your understanding of some of the things that we talk about, and then also offer your kind of reasoned judgment about what the ethical way to respond to a particular set of circumstances are. I don't want to go into great detail about those things right here because we're not going to start dealing with them for a few more weeks yet, or actually a month or so. So when that gets closer, we'll come back to that. All right. We'll also have our class discussion board. Here, we'll take questions that you pose, questions that I pose, and we'll kind of explore them together here. This is where you're going to submit the other half of your thought primer, and I'll talk to you more about that in one of the later videos, all right? And then about 20 of 30 of you have taken classes with me before, so I know a lot of you, and I know that there's a lot of you who are super excited to chat about things. So I want to make sure that we also have the opportunity to set up some optional Zoom discussions where we can just kind of hang out and talk with one another about the things we're reading about and talking about, questions that come up. I'm not going to require those Zoom sessions, so if you see an invitation to one come by your computer and you think like, I just am not feeling it, I'm not interested in that, or I don't feel well enough equipped this week to be engaged in this discussion, you can totally skip those optional Zoom sessions. They won't be required, but they'll be fun. So you'll want to attend them. All right. The 2 things you need to get for this course in terms of materials are one of them is this book, Beginning Ethics by Lewis Vaughn. You should be able to find it for around 20 bucks or so on Amazon or Chegg. Bookstore probably has it too. They should have used copies of it because I've been using it for quite a few years. And then the other book you'll want to get is a book called Justice by Michael Sandel. And that one you can definitely get on Amazon, and it's probably less than 10 bucks. Okay. So the Beginning Ethics book is going to sort of kind of dryly lay out a lot of theory to us, different ethical theories. It's not the most exciting reading, but students have commented that they think it's super practical and helpful. The Justice book is one that students really like because it's so interesting and it's an easy read and it's very specific. So I think you'll look forward to the Justice book once we start getting into it. You'll want to get this beginning ethics book sooner rather than later because you're going to have some reading out of it for next week. So you want to make sure you get your hands on a copy of that. If for whatever reason you're struggling to get your hands on copies of the beginning ethics book, you just got to tell me and I'll see if I can figure out a way to get you, I don't know, copies of the first couple of chapters or something like that until you get your books in your mailbox. All right. Next up, we're going to talk about grades. It's super important, so make sure you watch that video.